Morning, Gary. This is a quick response to your video on science. Thanks for that response. I really like your videos these days. The backgrounds you've got, the use of multiple cameras. I kind of wish I had the nous to do something like that myself. I just don't. So sorry. But yeah, I mean, the reason why it prompted, it's one of those daft reasons really for making a response video of this, Gary, because just after watching your video this morning, the one with the crab spider in the background, I picked up this piece of paper, which is an article that I printed off months ago and never got round to reading. It's been sitting on my desk over there for ages. It's called Science of the Subjective by Robert G. John and Brenda J. Dunn. It's an old article from 1997. And I printed it off because I thought it'd be interesting. As I say, it's called Science of the Subjective, but I haven't read it. I started to read it and then got bored, but watching yours this morning just reminded me of this section, so I thought that's a bit of a coincidence. Obviously I'm not putting any great store in coincidence as a thing, but they're just interesting sometimes. Anyway, just after I listened to you talking about science, and I share most of your opinion there. This whole thing about the opposite of science that I've got, it's just a kind of prompt for further thought for myself, really. That's just what I do, but you know that. But anyway, this video that you've got, it's got the crab spider in the background, and that just reminded me of this. And in this article they're talking about scientific methodologies, and in this particular bit they refer to Francis Bacon, who I can't remember when he was writing, 15th century, something like that. He's often, or maybe 16th, he's often considered to be the, one of the first empirical scientists, or the first kind of scientist. He wrote, I can't remember the fuck he wrote, something organum, it's gone now, sorry, I haven't been up very long. But anyway, this is something he says this, and what he's doing in this little short section, he's comparing different kinds of methods of discovery. And he says, right, and he's talking about the difference between experiment and theory. He says, oh God, sorry. He says, those who have treated the sciences were either empirics or rationalists. By empirics he means empiricists, those who value and find truth in experimentation. And rationalists, what he means by that is people who give primacy to thought. It's not rationalism as we understand it, but rationalist is in Bacon's terms means the power of thought, the use of deductive and inductive logic to arrive at truth rather than experimentation. So he's comparing those two. Those who have treated the sciences were either empirics or rationalists. The empirics, the people who value experimentation, he says, the empirics, like ants, only lay up stores and use them. So he means these people who carry out experiments, the empirics, lay up stores like ants. So they're kind of out there in the world foraging for nuggets of data. Like a leaf cutter ant will go out there and find a bit of leaf and bring it back and store it. So he's talking about that. The empirics, like ants, lay up stores and use them. The rationalists, he says, like spiders, spin webs out of themselves. So rationalists, I guess I have a tendency to do this myself, unfortunately. Just use cogitation and just use the abilities we all have to lay ideas into a row and join the dots between them and carry out kind of inductive and deductive processes. But as I say, they are spinning webs out of themselves, as he says. The rationalists, like spiders, spin webs out of themselves. And then he says, but the bee takes a middle course, gathering her matter from the flowers of the field and garden, and digesting and preparing it by her native powers. Okay, in like manner, that is the true offices and work of philosophy, which, not trusting too much to the faculties of the mind, does not lay up the matter afforded by natural history and mechanical experience entire or unfashioned in the memory. Let me just go back on that. In like manner, that is the true offices and work of philosophy, which, not trusting too much to the faculties of the mind, does not lay up the matter afforded by natural history and mechanical experience entire or unfashioned in the memory, but treasures it after being first elaborated and digested in the understanding. So it's neither just collecting data like leafcutter ants collect leaves, but also not just spinning the wheels of one's own rational mind to come up with ideas, but taking the data and spinning the wheels with that, you know, processing it. He says, like the bee, he claims to process, yeah, I guess they collect things and then process it into honey, don't they? But treasures it after being first elaborated and digested in the understanding, and therefore we have a good ground of hope from the close and strict union of the experimental and rational faculty, which have not hitherto been united. Anyhow, that's that really. It's just, yeah, I guess when I'm talking about, you probably know this, but when I'm talking about the opposite of science, I'm making pretty sweeping statements, and in a sense I am just kind of spinning my wheels on the possibilities of you know, what thought can do. Yeah, but I do recognise, as Bacon first pointed out, and it's the staple of science now, that it's always going to be a balance, isn't it? You know, between data collection and you know, theorisation, as we'd now call it, rather than rational processes. The formulation of structures of explanation out of that data, and there's always going to be either in balance, or there's always going to be not exactly a conflict, there's always going to be a kind of complementary relationship between those things. You know, a lot of theories these days are lacking in data. You know, string theory is terribly lacking in data. It's a great theory. It's spun out like a spider web out of the imagination, but it is terribly lacking in data. And for other things, you know, we've got a lot of data about, we haven't really got good theories to explain them. I guess I'm thinking about, well, uniting gravity and electromagnetism, you know, those different forces. Lots and lots of data about what these things are and what they do, but not a great set of theories has been spun out by any spiders to put them together. Anyway, thanks for that video, Gary, and for the spider that just reminded me of this Francis Bacon thing. See you.